child. So
Yeah.
is it
So
actually the way they speak? Is it the way they move? Is it the because it's not their
innocence,
body
maybe?
size per se, maybe their innocence, I don't know. It's just
Yeah.
interesting to think that he assaulted an adult, but who was mentally a child.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
That's yeah. That is a good point. At this point, so that's the fifth person or child that he's assaulted, person that he's assaulted. And it goes on. He was when he was at the St. Thomas Psychiatric Hospital, he was doing a treatment trial, and at the trial, after he was sent back, they fill out reports and send reports back to each other. In the report, it was advised that Fredericks not be a suitable patient for their facility or their trial, and recommended that he might not be good in the next 3 to 6 years, or if ever.
Yeah,
That
so
guy
already they're
is
kind
your
of being
problem.
like,
Yeah.
hmm,
He's your problem. You take care of him. We don't want him.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly. We tried here. You can have him back.
yeah. Well, and it's sort of the first, like, I don't know if he's gonna be quote unquote fixed.
So then he goes back to Oak Ridges, which is the maximum security, in January of 1982. So he's spending chunks of years at these places, and then now he's only spent 5 months back at Penetang at Oak Ridges. And there's, of course, a few other sexual incidents that happen while he's there. None of us are shocked because we read all about this. But, the course of the history shows what happened. He was also known to encourage collusive behavior during treatment with other patients.
Which is, yeah, so some nice manipulation going on there.
Yeah,
That's great.
yeah.
Again, similar to Bowden, because he did the same.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. But they were there they were there at the same time. So you never know. Maybe they interacted.
Wonder if they were in the same group therapy.
Yeah.
Like, oh, there's fodder for nightmares.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a source of a nightmare for tonight. Thank you very much, Sarah.
You're welcome anytime.
Yeah, great, thanks. Yeah. In June of 1983, he was moved to the Kingston Psychiatric Hospital. He only spent 4 months at this hospital. We're bopping him around all these different hospitals throughout Ontario.
Now,
We can't seem to cure this man.
but part of this is that diagnosis of being a psychopath wasn't really an established diagnosis at this point. So it was becoming hard to actually hold him in any given facility because they really didn't have a diagnosis for him. So they didn't really see that anything was wrong, per se, in quotation marks, in this case, for sure.
Yeah, it
Um,
wasn't a true, like, psychological disorder yet at this point. So, it was getting harder to sort of defend him as, like, well, he needs to be, locked up indefinitely. So
yeah.
they
So
kind of have to keep moving him around.
yeah, exactly. So the Kingston Psych Hospital was actually a lesser security facility.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, it was he. So he jumped from the maximum down to a minimum security, and his first month there, he escaped. And in his escape, what did he do? He sexually assaulted a 10-year-old boy with force, and then assaulted a 15-year-old girl with a knife.
Like the true winner he is.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
These, however, would be the first cases that he would get charged with. Thank goodness.
better late than never.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, we got him. We finally got him.
Yeah.
Finally got him. He was sentenced to 22 months and 2 years probation. Unfortunately, the sexual charges, though, they were never laid as the witnesses were unable to testify.
Which, I mean, I get they're 10 and 15. That's a lot to ask.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You've been traumatized. You want to relive it for the court? No.
No, no.
No. So he was sent to a minimum security facility in Brampton. But guess what? He didn't end up staying very long.
Surprise!
I know everyone was really shocked about that one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So in October of 1983, so we're just jumped from June to October, so the 4 months. So in October, we're gonna go from October to August. So whopping 10 months! Yay! He was transferred from the minimum security of the Ontario Correctional Institute in Brampton. From there to a maximum security at Millbrook Institute in Peterborough.
Okay, so moved again.
Yeah, exactly. Let's move him again. And he was cited to have behavioral issues that were documented against him.
Again, such a
Really?
surprise.
No shit,
Mm.
Sherlock.
A fun note, though, the Millbrook Penitentiary Institute was built in the 1950s as a prison to house inmates that other prisons could not handle.
So in theory, perfect for this guy.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
but it's one of those like, oh, if you've made it to Millbrook, you've gotten around.
Well,
Somehow you made that sound vaguely dirty.
no.
I try.
Oh.
It's my talent. What can I say?
Mm.
Ah. So, he's have all of these things that are going on for him. I'm hoping to God that this is all noted down in a file somewhere. But somehow he is released and given parole and moved to the Ottawa area to a halfway house.
Um, and that makes sense because
I don't understand. But reading like the system that they had at Millbrook, I'm assuming through my reading and research that he was given good behavior and that's why he was able to do this because they had like a 3-step program for
Manipulated the
their inmates.
guards.
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Well, and like so if his criminal sentence had been fulfilled at this point, or at least close, and he would have been for parole, uh I
That's
mean, you
for
can
sure.
understand it, especially because, like, mental health wise, they weren't really able to keep him. So,
True.
yeah.
So shocking here, he was at the halfway house less than a month, and he had an incident. He rapes and threatens an 11-year-old boy this time.
Great.
Yeah,
Well, at least we
absolutely
know he was
awful.
diagnosed correctly as a
Yeah.
Yes, this is true.
psychopathic homosexual pedophile.
Yeah. I mean, he definitely has a pattern. Yeah.
Yeah. At this point, the Crown Attorney first considers their Dangerous Offenders Act while he's, doing all of this. And this is something that's come about in the legal system. So we're getting there. But no charges were made from this child because the kid and the parents were unwilling to testify.
Again, totally understandable. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's unfortunate because he didn't get locked up, but.
Well, he did because he
No, he
Well,
did. He
yeah,
did.
he
It was
did,
just a little
but
different because he was
I've got to
sentenced to 5
feel.
years imprisonment,
Yeah, but I
which
mean,
was a
that was a
plea
plea
bargain.
bargain. So I got to feel if it went to trial and he was convicted, it would have been a longer sentence.
Most
Right? And they
likely.
would have been able to
But
likely
like
get
the
him
parents,
on the Dangerous
that was
Offenders
their
Act.
they didn't want to have to let this little boy live through this again by testifying. So
Oh, yeah, I'm not saying that they made a bad choice there.
no.
That's an awful situation to be in, but yeah.
So this time he spends 2 months in an Ottawa detention center. Well, I'm assuming he's waiting for his transfer to go through. So he gets transferred to the Warkworth Institute in Brighton, Ontario, and he was there from 1984 to 1987.
And Kendra and I are very familiar with this institution.
You make it sound like criminals. It's a men's,
Yeah, you do. You do make it sound a little like fun criminal.
it's a men's
Yeah.
prison. We can't be sent
Yeah. No, we can't.
Sarah and I, as part of our forensics training, had to actually spend a day in the life of a prisoner at the penitentiary in Warkworth. We can't really talk about how things go on in there or anything, but there's a wide variety. It's sort of a medium security system.
Yeah.
Inmates there do have jobs and they do have to sort of work to stay there, which is good. But there's definitely, the nicer area of the prison. There's the older area of the prison, kind of like what you see in any sort of prison TV show, Prison Break, Orange is the New Black, anything like that. There's good areas, there's bad areas, just like anywhere else.
Seems about right.
So,
Mhm.
fun fact that we learned there, though, is that almost every $20 bill in circulation has cocaine on it.
Oh, I forgot that's where we picked that up. Yeah.
Yeah.
That fact, not the cocaine.
Yeah.
Well, technically, I've got a $20 bill in my wallet, so
Party at
I
Sarah's.
probably.
And we'll go back to this and not the fact that yeah, well, no cocaine.
Oh, dear.
So, the law requires that all inmates be freed on mandatory supervision after serving 2/3 of their sentence. This helps reacclimate them to life after prison, introducing them back to the outside world.
Which we all know how well this went in Wayne Bowden's case.
Or
Exactly.
didn't. Jeez.
So in November of 1987, he was moved to a day parole home in Toronto to start his transition back into society. This stay only lasted for 3 months, though, due to public outcry after the Melvin Stanton incident, which
So
is
for
a
once, not his
totally,
fault.
totally unrelated murder incident that happened in Toronto. But it brought to life a lot of information to the public about what the halfway houses were and who were staying at the halfway houses, and that where they were in the community, and it made a lot of people uncomfortable. So
Which, fun
unfortunately,
fact,
that
yeah, fun fact, I lived
yeah.
next to a halfway house when I was in university. And
Yep.
that was a common statement. Yeah, Sarah lived a few houses down on the other side of the halfway house. Um, a lot of people asked, aren't you uncomfortable living there? And I said, no, I know who lives there. Do you?
Yeah.
Right? Like, I see
Hmm.
them coming and going. I know who lives in that house. A parolee walking up and down the streets in Peterborough, because that happens to be where we went to school, you wouldn't even